How about good work? Why do CEOs make so much money now? I like good work.
1965.
Came out from behind the trash. Jump scared me already. In 1965, let's find out why CEOs... Here's the thing. We've talked about this in multiple Marketing Mondays, and I think it's just so odd that the percentage of a company's revenue or net income that goes to CEOs has never been higher. They're commanding ever higher pay packages. Elon Musk right now is in like this complicated legal battle to be paid $50 billion, which is such an absurd amount to pay your CEO. It's like, it's shocking. I want to understand better how we got here. But even the examples I was using in some Marketing Mondays was like Mary Barra, who's the CEO of GM. GM is a company that hasn't been doing very well, yet she's paid a lot of money every year for the company to not do very well. And it just feels like all the investors in the company are seeing all of their money go to the executives who aren't even good. And why is that? I would love to know why. How can they get away with that? Why don't they just fire her and replace her with somebody who works there and who's good at the job and will do it for $800K instead of 40, 50 million.
The typical CEO of an American company made 21 times what the typical worker made. Fast forward to 2022, and CEOs were making 344 times the typical worker. Congrats, fellas. But also, how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah. How?
Well, that's a great question. You've got two answers.
That's what I'm talking about.
One camp says it's rent seeking. That's an economist's fancy term for get paid a lot because they can get away with getting paid a lot. They essentially are extracting resources from the company. The other side says it's an efficient market for executive talent. There's competition to hire, the best and the brightest, and it takes a lot of money to get them.
It just seems so fucking dumb that, again, I'm harping too much on Mary Barra, but like, who's offering her $55 million elsewhere? Do you know what I'm saying? Why do you have to bid so high for her? Where is she going? That you have to give her that much money, otherwise you might lose her. Dude, one thing on this, I saw someone say that they could trust Ryan Cohen as CEO of GameStop because he doesn't take any paycheck. Bro, none of them do. Or they, like, do you think Jensen Huang is filling out a W-2 on his? They all own stock, bro. It's absurd. It's absurd. That's not even a factor anymore. No major CEO is doing it for the paycheck. It's for the stock-based compensation. Getting paid equals taxes they want to pay. Yeah, it's not even. Bill Clinton would look sick with a taper fade. Do you guys think that Bill Clinton was sort of the ninja of his day?
Wet towels like Josh are quick to ruin the fun and point out the problems with linking executives' pay to their company's stock prices.
There are many things that can make a company's share price go up, and many of those things are well outside the CEO's control.
Well, it's also the bad incentives, right? Incentives to cut corners, incentives to lie, incentives to mislead, incentives to try and do anything to pump the stock in the short term to hit performance goals, incentives to do stock buybacks, yeah, with the revenue from the company to boost the price of the stock to improve their pay package. Again, employees, the CEO included, having some ownership via stock of a company, so they're incentivized with the company, does make sense. But when you make it so individual and so heavy, there's just these deep incentives to put your thumb on the scale a little bit and do whatever you can to pump the stock in the short term, knowing you unlock these big pay packages. And then if you get fired or do a bad job, who gives a shit? You already made hundreds of millions and you f*** off somewhere else or retire.
My guess is there are incredibly smart people out there who would have a real shot of doing about as good a job as Tim Cook.
Well, this guy? Oh, no. There's no replacing this specimen.
The thing is, Tim Cook is the worst example because he has provably done a very good job. So even if his pay is high, he is at least a good example for the camp of like, okay, well, fine. Apple has done extremely well under his tenure. It has grown actual revenue, actual sales, actual everything. Like 20x bigger than it was when Jobs died. Like, he's done a very good job. They've built a global supply chain. He hasn't pissed anybody off. He's navigated different world leaders in different countries. Like, he's done a pretty good job. And his pay is a very small fraction, percentage-wise, of what the company makes. While some CEOs who are doing a much worse job are getting paid much higher percent of what the company's making. And that's the more common problem. Like, Tim Cook maybe he is paid too much, maybe. But if so, he is a talent. Other companies would want him as a CEO. I just think so many of them are more grifts.
But in addition to the maybe
yeah, like Bobby Kotick, dude. Bobby Kotick is one of the best paid people. He walked away from the Activision Blizzard deal insanely rich. Everything worked out great for him, and he did a terrible job. It's just, that's up to me.
In theory, at a big public company, the CEO reports to the board of directors, who represent the shareholders' interests. And it's typically the board's job to decide how much the CEO gets paid.
Yeah, I mean, Elon's board of directors was like his brother. It's like his pals and his brother, and then they decide what to pay him. And it's like he asked for $50 billion because he needs it to go to Mars or some shit. And then they go, yeah, that's a good idea. And they take $50 billion out of Tesla and they give it to him. And if you're an investor in Tesla, it's like, damn, he's great, sure, but what, is he worth that much to it? That's assuming you're a Tesla investor.
In Delaware, where earlier this year, a judge ruled in favor of Tesla stockholders who sued the company, saying that Elon Musk's 2018 pay package was unfair.
It's funny, I'm getting ads. So Elon Musk is currently running ads on Twitter X for shareholders to vote to bring back his pay package. It's like, if you are a Tesla shareholder, don't forget to put your vote in to bring back Elon Musk's $55 billion pay. It is real. Yeah, I have a slide for it in my Elon Musk thing, but it's crazy.
The number one group who's really getting hurt by CEO pay directly is shareholders.
Ah, the shareholders. Us red-blooded Americans who get up in the morning, put in an...
Now, again, I think, 90% of stocks are owned by the top 10%. But they're getting burned here, folks. The shareholders are getting burned here. Sometimes the shareholders are pension funds or whatever. Is shareholding a job? People make it seem like it is on Reddit. People seem like it's a full-time job to hold a GME share, but no, it's supposed to be a passive income, actually.
Maybe we can think about slowing it down a bit. Our companies would be a little more profitable. Our economy, a little more equitable. And god damn it, we need to get tsunami under control. So for shareholders everywhere, I'm Dan Toomey. And I have been this entire time.
Fooled me! I agree with all of it. CEO pay, it's out of control. It's out of control. Except for my man, Jensen Huang. That man deserves every penny. That man's a hero. I remembered in a video story, I don't think I've told this before. My headphones came unplugged while I was presenting at NVIDIA. It was a Zoom meeting, and I had to present one of my ideas. So I have my slides, and I'm talking, and I'm like passionate. I'm like, and this is gonna do this, and this is gonna be good for NVIDIA, and this is what we're gonna do. I'm talking. Anyway, my headphones are unplugged, so I can't hear anyone else. And there is a guy who is ranked higher than me at the company who keeps trying to interrupt me and ask a question. But I can't hear him. So I'm bulldozing him in the conversation. Like, he's like, so what do you think about? And I'm like, and that is why we are going to do this, and this is going to work. And I've studied it. And then he's like, well, what about? And I'm just bulldozing him. I'm going all over him. I find out afterwards because my boss pulls me into a call and he's congratulating me. He's like, that was actually really impressive. What you did. Like, you took control of that meeting. You didn't let him. He was like giving me props. And I found out that I had I was mortified, dude. I would have absolutely listened to the question. But it's funny because I had never thought that you would get praised for something like that. It made me rethink how I present. It made me be a little more assertive. But it went, I mean, they took the idea. The idea got picked up. I got the funding. So it worked, but it was unintentional. Unintentional mogging.